Alright, in this video, I want to talk about freedom and specifically religious freedom. Now, freedom is great, and how it's great is it really allows the truth of what's inside of us to come out. Because if we start back in Jesus' time, you had the Jews who said to worship how we say to worship, or we'll kill you. You had the Roman Empire who was saying you got to worship how we say to worship, or we'll kill you. Then you have the formation of the Catholic Orthodox Church, and they started saying, worship how we tell you, or we'll kill you. And in this time, the Muslims popped up, and they were like, worship how we tell you, or we'll kill you. Then there's a bit of reformation, and the Anglican Church forms. They say, worship how we tell you, or we'll kill you. And you come over to the Americas, and the Puritans pop up, and they say, worship how we tell you, or we'll kill you. And this whole time, brave people would stand up, and they would be mocked, humiliated to try to discourage other people to do the same thing, beaten and scourged and imprisoned, again to discourage others from doing the same thing, tortured, a little bit to discourage people, but more to get them to recant so that they can show that, hey, the right way to go is with whoever has the authority, right? And then they just kill you because they want you to shut up. Stop being free. You're not free. And don't give anybody else the idea of being free, thinking they can freely think for themselves and worship how they want. So eventually they kill you. And what this ended up doing with this lack of freedom is you would have the groups. People would stay worshiping the way the Jews worship, the way the Romans worship, Catholic Church and Orthodox Church and Islam and Anglican and the Puritans and other groups as well. And people would stay in that group, but you don't know who's genuine and who's not. Who truly believes what they're in? Who's just going along with it so that they don't get humiliated, so they don't get scourged, so that they don't go to prison, so they don't get tortured, so they don't get killed. They're not genuine, right? You could have like all these people who were part of Judaism and they were worshiping in the same way, but it's because they were afraid to go otherwise. Same thing with the Roman Empire and so on and so forth. So it's like, what's the point of having all these people part of your religion if you have to force them to be there? Like, who's really truly worshiping and who's not just truly sitting there doing whatever they're told so that they don't get in trouble, right? And then eventually, God blessed us with America, where we had religious freedom and a separation of the church and state, so that one religion or one sect of a religion couldn't combine with the government to end up persecuting people because they wanted to believe something different. Right? You can't force them. So then that allowed people to do just that. And of course, people would end up going in all kinds of different directions. But now you get to see the truth. That was there the whole time, where the people wanted to go into atheism. They wanted to go into another religion. They wanted to just be agnostic because they're not sure. They wanted to go into a different denomination, a different sect, or do something new, right? That was always there. They were just afraid to go do it. So just because there was a time where a religion was joined with the government and forced people into a certain way didn't mean that's how they were. Like you had this peace and unity. No, you had slavery. And since the freedom of religion came about, you got to see that slavery as, look at all the people. With their free choice, they're not choosing to be Catholic, Anglican, Calvinist, Muslim, any of these things. They're choosing to be whatever it is they want to be. Right? And of course, people, whatever they grow up in is usually what they tend to stick with. But the people who aren't brought up with that, they go wherever, right? They're using their free will to do what they want if they're not forced into something, right? So freedom opens that. It shows what's truly within people. So now in this time of freedom, you can really show God your love for him, and you can show your fellow man your love for him, because you're not forced. You're not forced by a religion to follow their creeds and doctrines and do what they tell you. So things aren't forced out of you so that you can't tell, does this person really believe what I'm telling him? Is he really worshiping my God? Is he really doing these good things because he cares about others? Or is he doing this because this is just how life is and he has no choice? And he just wants to appease the authority so that he can have an easier life or even a better life by moving up into the system of the authority, even though he doesn't believe a thing of it. How do you know? Unless you give the freedom, right? And like I said, with this freedom, you really get to see the truth, and the people who end up really following God by their own free will, I believe God's going to bless them. Just like those people who would stand up during the persecution. They're like, no, I'm not going to follow along, right? I mean, sometimes I think a lot of us would get fired up if we were being forced. If we were being forced, I think it would wake a lot of people up and get people converted and fire them up. And we would stand up and we would be acknowledged as who we are, as not willing to die. I mean, not caring about dying, willing to give up our lives for our beliefs. But here, where the freedom is, and it's very soft, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit of a different fight to keep following God and to coming away from the world and being separate. So I think it's a little bit different there. I just kind of encourage you to use your freedom and appreciate the freedom you got, because I don't think it's going to last much longer. I really don't. This ecumenical thing going on, it's the whore of Babylon and her harlot daughters all coming together. And that's the Catholic and Protestants coming. They're joining. They're pretty much preaching the same stuff now. More and more. So many of these false preachers, even the ones preaching the gospel, they're just Judases doing it for money. They're going to turn everybody to the Catholic Church. And then persecution's going to come again. And I think that's going to wake a lot of people up when that happens. It's going to fire some people up. But you could avoid all that if you would just stand up now. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.